How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is running its holiday sale, and I am here to highlight some more deals. Now, these deals are all under the price of $20, so you know, in the $10 to $20 range, I know that's going to be a little bit more on the expensive side, but still some great deals to check out. And before we get into this video, I do want to let you guys know our friends over at InstantGaming.com have got a plethora of PlayStation Store wallet credit codes on sale. You can get a $100 voucher, a $75 voucher, $50, $25, or $10, and you'll save a little bit on there. You'll get a code that you can redeem directly on the PlayStation Store, and you'll get that amount a little bit cheaper. You can end up getting some extra games and spend a little bit less. So link in the description box below, and if you do want to support the channel, if you buy any of those codes, we do get an affiliate kickback, which is much appreciated. With that being said, let's get right into the deals, and let's kick things off with some Assassin's Creed titles. We got Assassin's Creed Origins, the Gold Edition, 85% off for $14.99. Now, I'm not crazy about the newer style of Assassin's Creed games, but I did have a good time with AC Origins. I did like Bayek as a character, and if you want to see where the Assassin's Creed kind of story all originated from, well, Origins is going to give you that, and I did have a decent time with the game. It's got a sizable amount of content, and shout out to Ubisoft. I know we don't give them a lot of credit, but they have upped a lot of their older titles to 60 frames per second on PlayStation 5, and AC Origins is one of them. And with the Gold Edition, you do get all of the DLC. You get the Ambush at Sea mission and the Desert Cobra pack included with the Deluxe pack, and then you'll also get the Season Pass including the Hidden Ones DLC, the Curse of the Pharaohs, the Roman Centurion pack, the Horus pack, and the free Helix credit pack and Day 1 weapon as well. All that is included for $14.99. Check that out with AC Origins. Next up, we do have Assassin's Creed the Ezio collection, which is 70% off for $11.99. This will get you Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and Assassin's Creed Revelations. Unfortunately, with these three titles, they do run at 30 frames per second on PlayStation 4 and 5, which is a little bit of a bummer given that they are PS3 era games, and I would just want them to be 60 frames per second, but these games are still awesome, man. The Ezio titles are still classics, and it's crazy to think about that this year will mark 17 years since the release of Assassin's Creed 2, but man, I remember like it was yesterday, this game coming out and it reviewing so well, and it just being one of my favorite games in 2009, and I often talk about that year because I have so much nostalgia with that year and just all of the great games that came out. And then the following year with Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and then Revelations after that. You know, by Revelations, okay, maybe Ezio overstayed his welcome a little bit, but Revelations was still a pretty solid game, and for $11.99 to get all three titles, a no-brainer there, great pickup for sure. Next up, we have One Piece Odyssey, 63% off for $14.79. I've talked about One Piece Odyssey a few times. Like, I'm just not the biggest One Piece guy in the world. I'm not going to sit and watch 1,100 episodes. However, One Piece Odyssey is a good turn-based JRPG. Like, mechanics are well done. There's some cool platforming sections as well. I just think this game is pretty good. And if you are a One Piece fan, the whole shtick of this game is that you go back to older parts of One Piece and things have changed a little bit, and you know, go through those sections again. It's a pretty well done game in that regard, and I feel like if you're a fan of One Piece, you'll enjoy it even more. $14.79, good price on that. Next up, we have Code Vein, the Deluxe Edition, 85% off for $11.99. Anime Souls-like here, Code Vein 2 is about to release in just a couple of weeks, so now's not a bad time to go and play the first one. I thought it was a pretty well-done game, man, but obviously the anime aesthetic, the weeb art style is gonna be right up my alley, but I thought from a gameplay standpoint it was enjoyable, and for somebody like me, you know, if I can get through Code Vein, you guys know you can get through Code Vein as well. The story is fine, it's not going to be anything blow away, but I do think it's a solid game, all things considered. So definitely recommend that at $11.99. That will get you the DLC content as well, with the Season Pass and whatnot. So check that out. Next up, we have Absolum, 20% off for $19.99. This is a game that has more so come on my radar recently. Like, I knew about the game coming out, and I knew that it had a bit of attention, but as people have been putting out their top games of the year, the amount of times people have told me Absolum was one of their favorite games of the year kind of surprised me, and it's a .emu title, so I should have expected it to be really well received, but it's got a 4.82 star rating on the PlayStation Store, and right now it's 20% off for $19.99. Again, a really well received game, an epic adventure in an original fantasy world from the Destruction, New Heroes, Rise, and the Rogue 'em Up, original by .emu as well, a new thrilling gameplay style to master the beat 'em up genre at its very best. .emu has done a lot of great titles, and check out their original title sale in Absolum if you are into beat-em-up titles. 20% off for $19.99. Next up, we have Tetris Effect, 50% off for $19.99, and if you're a Plus subscriber, you will save an additional 5%, and you will get it for $17.99, which is a pretty damn good deal. Tetris Effect is one of those games, man, that it's got so much visual flair to it, and definitely a little bit trippy to say the least, but the soundtrack in the game is phenomenal. If you do have a VR headset, by the way, with PSVR 2, this is one of the most remarkable VR experiences you could play through, and for $19.99, I would say this is a pretty good buy, especially because it's one of those games you can constantly go back to, and if you just want a game you can kick back and relax, I do feel like Tetris Effect will offer you that as well, and it's Tetris just amped up to 11. It's a pretty solid game all around. Next up, now this isn't a game you're gonna kick back and relax with, but Tactics Ogre Reborn, 60% off for $19.99, is an incredibly challenging tactics JRPG. I feel like before Final Fantasy Tactics The Ivalice Chronicles came out, this was the tactics JRPG a lot of people were recommending if you wanted a bit of a throwback. Tactics Ogre is a game that I played back on the PSP when that version came out, and it was initially a PS1 game. And we have the PlayStation 4 and 5 version. Like I said, this game is brutally challenging. Like, you really, really need to be on point with a lot of the game, and it is infuriating at times. Like, I made it through Final Fantasy Tactics, and by the end, like, that game was fairly challenging, but Tactics Ogre, I feel like, is on a completely different level in terms of challenge. But you know what? If you want that and you want a quality tactics game, you'll certainly find that with Tactics Ogre Reborn. And $19.99 for that, I think, is pretty good. Next up, we have Danganronpa 1 and 2 Reload, 70% off for $11.99. Now, the thing with this is if you do buy it, you want to be mindful about the fact that Danganronpa 2 is getting an enhanced release with Danganronpa 2x2. That's going to include like a new campaign, and I believe the original scenario is going to be included as well, but that is probably going to be, you know, a $50 game, so just keep that in mind. You can get the first game and the second game 70% off for $11.99, which I still think is a great pickup. Danganronpa is one of those games that when I played it initially on the PS Vita, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into, and what I was getting myself into was an absolute narrative roller coaster. I was blown away by Danganronpa, and it's one of those games, if you give it a solid 45 minutes, it is going to hook you. Its narrative is so well woven together. The twists and turns, the surprises, the investigative elements, I thought it was so well done. The soundtrack is great, and Danganronpa 2, I actually thought was the superior game over the first one. I feel like that's the majority opinion, but whatever the case may be, you obviously want to play the game sequentially, and just incredible games from a narrative standpoint, and worthwhile visual novels if you do want to get into the genre. I think that's a great pickup, so $11.99 on that. Next up, we have System Shock the Remake, 65% off for $13.99. This is a really, really well done remake of the original System Shock. The visuals are great, and for this price point, I think it's pretty well done. I know System Shock doesn't get a lot of traction on console since it is kind of a PC first kind of game, but for this price point, I do think it's a pretty good buy. Next up, we have Freedom Wars Remastered, 50% off for $19.99. Freedom Wars is one of those games that I do have a bit of a bias towards as somebody that absolutely loved the PlayStation Vita, and Freedom Wars was one of those games that came out in the latter stages of its life where there wasn't a lot of games coming out, and Freedom Wars just came out as one of like the final hurrahs for the PS Vita, and it turned out to be a pretty good game. Obviously, as a PlayStation Vita title, it's gonna show its age. It's not gonna be this blow-away game from a mechanics or visual standpoint, but I still think it's got a lot of charm to it, and it's an enjoyable game all around as an action title. For $19.99, I think it's a pretty good pickup, so check that out. Next up, we have Psychonauts 2, 80% off for $11.99. Solid deal for Psychonauts 2. An incredibly charming platformer with a good story and good gameplay as well. It's one of those games that I don't think anyone really ever expected to get a sequel for. You know, it was a cult classic, but it just didn't get a lot of traction. But over the years, it became more and more of a game that garnered a following, and then ultimately we got Psychonauts 2, and I think for $11.99, it's a quality pickup, so you can check that out as well. Next up, we have another Square Enix JRPG, Live Alive is 60% off for $19.99. I really like this game in the sense of it's a little bit more of a unique Square Enix JRPG where you do have these different campaigns you kind of go through with these different characters that cohesively come together by the end, and you know, each campaign has its different style, its different settings, some different mechanics to it, and they're not super lengthy individually, but there's quite a lot of them. So going through all of them is going to be time consuming, and I thought overall it was a pretty solid JRPG. It's got a great HD 2D aesthetic. It's one of those games that doesn't get talked about a lot, and it was initially a Nintendo Switch title, then it got ported to PC, then also on PlayStation 4 and 5, but yeah, for $19.99, I think that's a pretty good deal. Definitely give that a look if you want a little bit more of a unique JRPG from Square Enix. Next up, we have Pillars of Eternity Complete Edition, 75% off for $12.49. I kind of been crapping on Obsidian lately in terms of, you know, I wasn't crazy about Avowed or Outer Worlds 2, but Pillars of Eternity was the last game from Obsidian that I really, really enjoyed. I thought the writing in this game and the world building in this game was just fantastic. I thought the gameplay was solid as well, but how they flesh out the world in Pillars of Eternity, I really did enjoy. This complete edition includes the DLC as well, the White March Parts 1 and 2, and I would definitely give this a recommendation. Bit of a throwback of an RPG, but for $12.49, a good pickup there. Next up, Gravity Rush Remastered is 50% off for $14.99, one of those IPs from Sony that has unfortunately been shelved and is such a good game. It's so unfortunate because the game is so good, and Gravity Rush 2 was great as well. Gravity Rush 1 has just a fantastic art style that I feel like is timeless. A pretty good cast of characters, a good story, and the gameplay is just so unique. And it makes a good transition from the Vita onto the PlayStation 4 controls. And yeah, for $14.99, I highly, highly recommend Gravity Rush. Just a great game. And then lastly, Sword and Fairy Together Forever Premium Edition is $14.99 if you're a Plus subscriber, $19.99 if you're not a Plus subscriber. I think this is a really good deal. Now, the Premium Edition does include dynamic themes for PS4, so you know, that's not anything crazy, but you've got the digital soundtrack, modern style outfits add-on, and 4 avatars as well. So there you go with that. But this is one of the most visually impressive games that you'll come across that doesn't really get the attention for being this technically incredibly impressive game. And it looks fantastic on PS5. There are some translation issues and things of that nature, but as far as real-time action gameplay goes, it's pretty good. And again, don't expect something super, super lengthy for an RPG, but well done all in all. And for this price point, I do think it's a pretty good pickup. But that is gonna do it for me. Again, a lot of great deals under the price of $20. Links to all of these are in the description box below. That'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. As always, sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.